about you joining Euro, not even Lisbon Treaty, and not of the Fiscal Treaty. So once again, you are the lucky ones. You have the freedom to choose. Use your freedom well, because you have to live with your choices also. And let me emphasize that every time a referendum like this is held anywhere in Europe, there's always the same tactics within the yes side. Intimidation. Do not be intimidated about the possible draconian consequences of your choice. Whatever your choice is, it is the right choice if you make it with clear conscience and with your own individual, rational thinking. Do what is right for your country, Ireland, and for your children's future. Make your own choice. Thank you.
And just lastly from myself, Herman Kelly, I'm Director of Communications for the EFD group and have been for the last 2.5 years. I just, as an Irishman, I'd just like to speak about the great injustice of Irish people as a whole being on the hook for the private bank debt that the Irish government, the supine, weak yes men of the Irish government, what they're saying that the Irish taxpayer is up to hold for the next few years. When Ireland, at the behest of the ECB, agreed to nationalise this private bank debt, the debt to GDP ratio went up 40%, and we were on the hook for an extra 70 billion euro. At this very minute, there is roughly until 2031, Ireland will have outstanding promissory note payments of approximately 47 billion. Right, every month the government, Michael Noonan and Enda Kenny must decide whether or not they're going to pay these promissory notes. There's a political decision has to be made here. So I would say that as the fiscal treaty has to do with the harmonisation of debt regime, etc., that a no vote to the fiscal treaty will be a mandate to repudiate the private Franco-German bank debt. Thank you very much. So we'll just deal with a few questions. Nicola? No, sorry. Neve Burns.
Michael, Irish Daily Mail. I think we all remember the Paddy Wackery that went on after we voted down the first Lisbon Treaty referendum. We had the leprechaun hats on and all that kind of thing. Do you think Irish people see themselves in that way? And what makes you think that when we have such a broad spectrum on the no side, that your perspective is welcome here? And secondly, can I ask how many days you give the euro currency?
Well, the answer to question number one, I must say, the day after Ireland voted no to the Lisbon Treaty was the most instructive day of my life in the European Parliament. One MEP wore a leprechaun hat, so, you know, don't say we all dressed up as leprechauns, it's nonsense. One did. It was the most instructive day because it was the day that I learned that whatever I'd thought about the European project up until that point in time had been a gross underestimate in terms of just what very unpleasant, bad people we've got now running this continent. Because the message was clear. Ireland had voted no, but the message was clear. We will not bow to populism. That was the cry of the Parliament. It is unacceptable that people through the ballot box can stop this great historic project. And I realised that day, you know, that we were really up against some very powerful, not undemocratic forces, but actually anti-democratic forces. Point two is the contribution of a group of MEPs here. Welcome. Well, you know, the yes side has had hundreds of MEPs visiting here over the last couple of decades, a never-ending round of commissioners, and a never-ending bout of propaganda. So all we are trying to do is to redress the balance slightly. The one thing I think we can do, and have done in the previous referendums, is something that nobody else in the No campaign seems to be placed to do, which is to actually get something out through the doors. And we've done that. This is the third time we've used this exercise. Does it do any good? Well, after that first vote, the Taoiseach got up. Brian Cowan got up and said the next afternoon, in making his excuses, that Nigel Farage and a group of extremists in Strasbourg have subverted the democratic process in Ireland. So I think we did make a difference that time, because if they resort to abuse, you know you're doing well, and I hope that we get the same abuse this time. Third question, how long will I give the euro? Well, to be honest with you, if I knew the answer to that, I'd be down at Ladbrokes and not here talking to you. But I think, despite the fact that they've invested an enormous amount of capital, and I don't just mean financial capital, I mean political capital in the euro project, I think we've gone past the point of no return. And I think really this democratic revolution that is taking place both in north and the south of Europe, frankly has a momentum that is unstoppable. We are, last year, deposits, actual cash bank deposits in Greece fell by over 20%. They're now falling at a rate of about 2.5% a day. So the run's on, the bank run is on, and indeed in Spain last night, probably mistakenly, but a BBC journalist, when interviewed on a talk show radio in Spain last night, said to expats in Spain, get your money out of Spanish banks. So the bank run is on. I think we're going to see a collapse by the middle of the summer. Okay. Or possibly even before you have this referendum, which reinforces my point, it doesn't make sense to sign up to something that may not exist.
Okay, thank you very much. Ursula Halligan, TV3, please.
Thank you. Nigel Farage, could you identify the good-looking Danish MEP and female assistant referred to in your press release?
Well, here's the press officer, but I have a feeling there's left to be both of them.
The press officer had his phone.
I'm just wondering, does it mean that the rest of you aren't good-looking?
I think almost certainly, yes.
It's no, it's a matter of degree, and it's also a matter of personal taste. Also a matter of personal taste and whatever floats your boat.
Could I also ask, how come the only female at the top of the table hasn't said anything so far?
Because she's an assistant rather than an MEP. But if she would like to,
yes, of course. Well, I'm an assistant to the EFD group, and I'm Italian. I'm a qualified lawyer, and I'm here to support No's referendum. I'm here because I truly resent the injustice of the Irish taxpayers having to pay private banks' debt. And for that reason, of course, so I vote for democracy. I would vote for democracy if I was Irish, and I would vote no.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just wondered why you were left out initially,
Thank you.
but I didn't want you to feel left out.
Okay.
Just finally, Nigel Farage, how do you think Irish people will like to be told how to vote by outsiders?
Well, as I said, you've been governed since 1973 by foreigners and outsiders, and you've got in this campaign vast amounts of foreign money. Just look at the lamppost coming in from the airport, telling you what you should and shouldn't do, albeit your own weak, pathetic political class allowing them to do so. All we are doing here is it is a tiny attempt to redress the balance. It is completely up to you, but I repeat the point. It does not make sense to vote for a treaty and change your constitution when the terms of that treaty will have disappeared within the next few weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
Fiona Kelly from the Irish Independent. Can I ask Mr Farage if you approved of the British government giving a contribution to the Irish bailout in November 2010? And secondly, you say your funds come from central EFD funds. Where do those central funds come to? Are your parliamentary allowances? Various MEPs get parliamentary allowances, like Labour MEPs are contributing to the Labour Party campaign. Are you contributing to this EFD campaign through your parliamentary allowances in Europe?
This comes from the information budget. The 400 budget is the actual designated line in the European Parliament. You can look it up on the European Parliament website, and it is designed to put out information. Now, I think when all of these rules were drawn up, there was an assumption that anybody that went to the European Parliament would put out information that was casting all the doings of the European Union in a positive light. They perhaps hadn't expected a group like the EFD group to exist, but we know we're perfectly within the rules in doing what we've done, and we've had everything legally checked.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to that, that over half the money for the leaflets comes from the budget of the Central Secretariat of the EFD group as a whole.
It's also
How much money is being spent?
Sorry, the question.
a piddling amount compared to the other side.
Did you support the British Exchequer contribution?
No, I don't support pouring good money after bad. Thus far, the British government has risked £1,500 per British household on defending a currency that inevitably is going to collapse in ruins. Because the British public is so upset about it, we're now doing it through the back door by making further promises to the International Monetary Fund. And we're not saving the euro, and we're not actually helping the citizens in any of these countries where people have been bailed out. Because of this grave error of judgment, where the Commission of the Central Bank said we cannot allow any losses through the mess of the private banking sector. Effectively what the bailouts are for is to repay banks, predominantly French and
So
German
you
ones.
disagree with David Cameron when he said he was helping out a friend in need?
I don't think he was helping you in any way at all, and certainly, as we contributed to the Greek bailout as well, I mean, do you actually think keeping Greece in the euro is helping them? No, it's crucifying them.
And also, like, the money actually goes to the bailing out the banks,
Exactly.
not any Irish people. Do you know, we're going to take all the questions. Do you know?
Nigel, just to return to the issues about the treaty, one of the main disagreements between the yes and the no sides is the issue of the ESM and where the money might come from for a second bailout. The yes side say the treaty is needed as an insurance policy to access further bailout funds. As the no side, as you're proposing, a no argument, where would you suggest, or where would you tell voters the money could come from if and when we do need a second bailout? Can I also ask you about your leaflet? You claim our corporation tax is essentially under threat with this treaty. The government made it quite clear they're not removing it unless they say the guarantees are there from Lisbon. Could you outline quite clearly how you think the corporation tax is threatened by the treaty? Just those two
Well,
issues.
I think on the corporate tax rate, I think Morton did address that. Indeed, there's been a vote. Do you want to just repeat that point about what the threat is?
Sure. Well, first of all the institutions of the European Union is moving towards a compulsory tax, as I described. Then, of course, you're right that at the Lisbon vote, the Irish people had a notification, or how would you say it, on the treaty clearance, what it should not lead to. That has also been dealt with in the European Parliament, actually in the Constitutional Affairs Committee, where I am vice president. And the vast majority of that committee has deemed it quite unlikely that those opt-outs, or what you might call them, on the Lisbon Treaty will have any effect on this matter whatsoever. And why is that? Well, because in the way that the Commission now has constructed this corporate tax is that it will, of course, affect even countries who might object to introducing it themselves. Because when you have corporate transnational taxation where the companies can choose where they want to pay the tax on the division on labor and assets and whatever it might be, of course that will lead to the fact that even though Ireland might technically stand out of it, it will still be affected because it's a part of the common market and the other countries will compulsorily have this tool. So in that way, this will, when it's introduced, it will affect the Irish economy immensely. And the only way to stop it is to, well, referring to Mario Draghi's words, to stop the fiscal union. And the fiscal unions are going to be introduced with the fiscal treaty. So stop the fiscal treaty, you'll stop the fiscal union.
Yeah. And as far as ESM is concerned, this whole question of future bailouts, I mean, it is a very negative argument, isn't it? That, vote yes for this treaty, accept that you're going to get the ESM treaty as well, and vote yes because we might need bailing out again. It doesn't sound to me to be a very ringing endorsement of previous government decisions. The point I made was this, that far from it being some potential wonderful source of funds that will bail you out if once again that is needed, it may actually, because there are other countries far bigger than yours, way bigger than yours. Spain is about 7 times the size of Ireland, and Italy is about 12 times the size of Ireland. So far from this ESM being there to help you, you are actually signing up a commitment that you're a contributor to it. It may well cost you money. Indeed, your first payment, 250 million euros, is due this July. There's another one due in October. And
You have no answer, though, to where the funds might come from if we do need a bailout.
Listen,
You stop
listen.
paying
By the time Ireland needs a second bailout, if it does, there won't be any money. It will all have gone because you'll be bailing out much bigger economies that are in dire trouble, and you will find yourselves far more likely to be a contributor financially than he will be a beneficiary from it.
I just want to say as well that Ireland will also, the quickest way for Ireland to get more money is to stop pouring money into the bucket with a hole because of the private bank debt. So we can stop immediately on the promissory notes if the Irish government agrees. I'm going to take two more questions. I would like them to be short because it's now 10 to 1.
Good luck.
Fergal Keane from RTE.
Yes,
hi. Just two questions. All the parties have been very open about the amount of money they're spending, so could I ask you the amount of money you're spending? And after today, are you planning to have any other contributions into this debate? And then there's just one question about you have a cartoon in the middle of your leaflet which shows Franco-German banks holding up the Irish taxpayer, and it says Ireland 1916, Germany 2016. Could I ask you what that means?
Yes, well, I mean, that is a reference, of course, to who is in charge. But I mean, Herman, you answer the Irish point, and I'll come back to the money point. All right.
Okay, the Irish point, well, I think it's a pretty nifty cartoon, if I may say so. The main point is that you join the ESM and you have to pay in 11 billion. It obviously makes the point that it's the taxpayer who's it's the banks who are getting bailed out, and it is the Irish taxpayer who's getting stitched up. 1916 was the year that Irish people struck for the freedom, and basically